righty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. All right, I hope everybody's having a great trading session. Man, the cable is just trading heavy. Somebody said, "Hey, the dollar Swiss, is that the Swiss National Bank?" No, it has nothing to do with the Swiss National Bank. Okay, if you ever want to know if the Swiss National Bank is moving in the market, look at the Euro Swiss. Okay, when the Euro Swiss is steady, it has nothing to do with the Swiss National Bank. Nothing. Okay, if you see the Euro Swiss shoot up like 50 pips really fast, that's the Swiss National Bank. The only reason why the Swissy is moving right now is because the euro dollar just dropped. That's it. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started with our morning analysis. We have obviously the FOMC meeting minutes today. We have Canadian IVPMI. That's another piece of data that's coming out. So we got to get started. So the euro is breaking lower, the euro dollar. Now I'm a little bummed out because I did cover my short at 130.47 this morning when I got up, like literally where my cursor's at. But notice we just hit a 38% retracement. This is probably not a bad, matter of fact, I don't want to get long the euro. We may bounce here though. Okay, because look, everybody was sitting there watching. You know, this is going to be a case of the market being a little short-sighted at the moment. You know, everybody is looking at the support right here. We just pushed through the support enough to trip stops, right? So you see all these stops getting tripped right here. Okay, see how they all got stopped here, right? But you know, you're not looking at the 38% retracement that we just hit. Now I think further support comes down here at 113 basically. I'll write that down for today, but we're probably going to bounce right here where we're currently at. I would not be short the euro right now. I'm just telling you guys as a friend. All right, I don't think I'd be short the euro right now. I'd probably be covering my shorts if I was short. Okay, but further support is 113 because I got to make the assumption that we break down there. We break through that this morning, but I think we're going to hold. Okay, but 113 is further support. Resistance. Any move up towards 114 now, and I know I said this yesterday too, but any move towards 114, yeah, that's where sellers are at. Sellers are up here. You know, they're obviously very prominent, and unless the FOMC minutes are extremely dovish today, you know, unless they're extremely dovish, we're probably, you know, probably going to be rejected at 114. Okay. We are in a range. Now let's go look at the cable. Cable, oh, man, this thing just does not look good. Now notice how the pound moved out of the triangle. Okay, I am long a little bit of pound. I figure I'll try to play this false breakdown. The cable's notorious, right? Notorious for breaking new lows and then reversing. It is. I mean, if you don't know that about the cable, you shouldn't trade the cable. But the pound, like I said, I picked up some right here at 140.44, and you know, we'll see how it goes. But let me grab this thing. You know what? Let me do this. Let's go to the daily chart. Let's remove that. Let's remove that. Let's remove that. Okay, let's stop here. All right, we're going to stop right here. So we've got, you know, possible shoulder, and the head. All right, you see it all. All right. Okay, now I'm going to take the low once again because I had to remove those before. Low, right? Low, 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 low. Don't look. You are getting sleepy. Sleepy. Maybe you're getting a little dizzy too. Dizzy and sleepy. Okay, so then the 786 comes in at 139.80. Could take us down there. That's a 786 retracement. This is a complex head and shoulder pattern. If you don't know what that is, it's a, you know, tilted neckline. Okay. Neckline, 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 shoulder, which means the next shoulder blade could be down here, right? So it could be a complex head and shoulder pattern. So don't get too, you could get your panties in an uproar right now thinking, oh my God, it's going to break down. It's not necessarily the case, okay? Rick asked, where did I get my Allegra? Well, I got it at the pharmacy. Not your typical pharmacy, though. If you know what I'm saying. Okay, so anyway, we have a 786 retracement that comes in right here. It's at 139.80. So that's going to be support today. Okay. 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 All right. Also, let me do one last thing. Low. Getting sleepy. Sleep. All right. So 127%. Drives a little bit further than that. Okay, I'm going to remove that. John asked if that was Allegra or Viagra. Well, you do notice it's 4:41 in the morning. I could always go give my wife a rude awakening, right? Just kidding. It's way too early in the morning to be saying all this. Okay. Anyway. Hi, you smell my coffee breath? Hi. Okay, anyway. All right, enough of that. So here, Alan says it's what time? Look at what time it says on my, do you see what time it says on my clock? Can you see the clock at the bottom of my screen? It's 4:42 in the morning. I've been up for 2 hours now. That's the time I get up in the morning to be here with you every day. So that in itself should tell you how special each and every one of you are, and what just a dear place you hold in my heart is that I get up at excruciating times in the morning to be here with you. That's it. You complete me. You had me at hello. Anyway. Okay, so here's the cable. That's going to be support. So resistance, now this broken trend line, oops, that broken trend line right here, this one right here. Okay. I imagine that was a triangle, but I mean, I don't know if it really is. And it's because we didn't have too many touches. I mean, if you go here, I guess we had like a little false breakdown, so it kind of confirmed that. But I want to keep it up just in case. The reason why I say that just in case is because in case that this triangle really wants to play out, let's say we have a very hawkish FOMC minutes. You're talking about, triangle extensions that could take us into, like in this case, into new lows. That's entirely possible. So I don't want to remove it just yet. But any move back up there, any move back up here is going to be resistance. You can see this is hold on, let me have coffee in my coffee warmer here. Trying to talk and drink coffee at the same time and use my mouse. Okay, this is resistance right here. 141.70. 141.70 is resistance. As long as we remain below that, that's where the downside pressure is at. God, this pound looks like crap. It's still taking a nosedive right now. Holy cow. Okay, so that comes in at 141.70. 141.70. Man, this pound looks like crap. We're in a range. Hold on. Look at this selling. Just relentless. That euro pound's strong. That's why. No bounce. No bounce. This is that this really doesn't do anything. Man, that is heavy. Are you sure there's no pull out? No, like new pull numbers or anything? Yes, the euro pound is nearing 81 pence. We're getting up there, getting close. Getting close. I mean, the pound, everything's getting killed. It doesn't matter what is pound, everything is getting crushed right now. Okay, we'll keep a close eye on it. Let's go over to this. Whoops. Let's go over to the Swissy really fast. All right, here's the Swissy. So the Swissy, a little spike up here, but remember, as long as we remain below 96.60, that is resistance. All right. Support is 95.55, just like it was yesterday. Resistance is 0.9650. 96.60. 96.60. Let me double check that. Just trying to write down the same numbers as yesterday. So, yeah, 96.60. Okay. Let's go over to the yen. So the dollar yen is still trading very heavy here, and here's the thing about the dollar yen, guys. Here, let me remove that. Yesterday, I was like, I covered a third of my position yesterday, and and I'm like, that we could very well bounce up here, but we haven't. Even when equities tried to find some sort of support yesterday, nothing. You have to take that into account. All right. So yesterday, at the end of the day, the stock market bounced and the dollar yen did nothing. All right. So now, scary thing is if you're long the dollar yen, you gotta think about that. Now we do have the minutes today, which could obviously change what we're seeing here. But to me, let's get rid of this for a second. For me, I just see this, right? And I don't even know where this flag starts. It could be there for all I know. I'm just assuming here, but it could be here. There's like a pennant, and yeah, if this starts playing out, I mean, this is like the type of move that takes us down to 105, 106. Okay, so just be really careful if you're on the long side of the dollar yen here. Now, again, it's going to be dominated by the FOMC minutes today. It's not. This chart pattern is probably more irrelevant than anything, but resistance right now is right here, 110. I'm just gonna, well, 110.70. Okay, still bearish. And then support. $109.95. That was the low yesterday. I can't believe we traded a 109 handle. I mean, I can, but things so bearish. Okay, who was it yesterday? Who was it 2 days ago? Which one of you guys? I know it was one of you guys. Okay, one of you guys, and I want to go over to the peso really quick. I said the peso is in a range, and somebody who's listening in right now, we were here, and somebody said, "Oh, the peso is in a bearish trend. And I said I disagree. I think we're in a range bound environment. Is that you, Bill? Okay. do you see this reversal that we've seen in the peso? Okay. See, before you get too, excited about like a downtrend or uptrend, this when I'm doing these biases here, you have to realize, and I want you guys all to realize this. When I'm giving you a bias, it's not necessarily an intraday bias. Okay. All right. I try to take a little bit longer term viewpoint of the FX market, because when I have traders that come in from all walks of life and all trading styles, different account balances. Some of you trade $1,000 accounts, some of you trade $100,000 accounts plus. Okay, so it's not, it's a very much a one size does not fit all webinar. It's like, I don't do a webinar, it's for active trading. I'm doing a webinar, it's for swing trading. I try to encompass everybody, which is a difficult task in itself. When I look at these biases and these, trends, it's I try to keep a more longer term outlook. All right. So it takes me a while to change my bias. So if I go, hey, it's something's in a downtrend, and it's something's in a downtrend, and it's starting to turn higher. We're just trying to get it into more of a neutral range. Or if something's in an uptrend and it hasn't turned bearish yet, it takes some time. Like I'll give you a perfect example. The U.S. dollar the U.S. dollar Canadian. How many of you guys were short the U.S. dollar Canadian with me at 144? How many of you guys were shorting the dollar Canadian with me at 144? Do you think that was a counter trend trade? Bunch of you guys were, right? That was a major counter trend trade, but it was a very bullish trend. But we knew we were getting really overextended, and we were going into what's now more of a range type of environment. You got to take into consideration that you can trade counter trend, but when you're trading counter trend, it's just there's more risk associated with that. Okay, so just wanted to make sure that you guys are all aware of that. Okay, so where are we at? Speaking of the Canadian, let's go over the Canadian. So speaking of trading counter trend, I believe that the dollar Canadian is bearish while we're below this yellow trend line here. Okay. However, we've taken out the near-term channel, okay, which, in my opinion, puts us more in a range environment. And this right here, this is why I was considering yesterday taking us out of the bearish trend, and we are now moving out of that bearish trend. So we are in a range environment in the Canadian. Now, I am long the dollar Canadian, and I am looking for a move back up towards 133. 133 is going to be the resistance, like key resistance. Yesterday we wrote down 132.20 for our resistance. Yesterday we went, after we were done, we went to 132.18. That's not bad. Okay. Today, resistance is at 133. I also said that we were going to get a dip down to trend line to retest. That happened. I drew that out, right? Okay, this dollar Canadian is very technical right now. Damn, this euro pound. Euro pound's almost at 81 pence. What the fudge sickle? Man. All right. Anyway, like I said, we're going to 81 pence. We're probably going to try to take the stops above there. I don't know. There's probably a fairly big barrier in the euro pound at 81 pence too. Just thinking out loud. Anyway, going back to the Canadian, this is very technical right now. have to be careful that this might come back and take down this trend line here. So 131.20. I'm actually going to write down today because I don't know if I'm going to write down 132.20, 131.20 for now, just because those look like pretty key areas. Okay. 131.20, 132.20. Okay. If we break 132.20, we're going 133. All right. Okay. Let's see if I can get out. I'm going to squeeze out the Kiwi really quick. All right. Kiwi is capped right now at 68.20, 68.15. More significant now. Man, this pound is just so heavy. 66.70 is support. Yeah, I don't know if I want to write down support all the way down there. But it's more dependent on equities at this point. Because if you look at here's the daily in the QE, failed breakout attempt, we're still in an upward channel in a big range. So a really key support's going to come down here. The flip side is, if you want to get long, down there is the place to do it, not up where we're currently at. Down here is going to be the place to be on the long side. I don't know if I necessarily want to be on the short side. I already closed out my short currently. But I think if we can break above 68.20, that's going to take off the downside pressure, right? And then support. I know I had this written down from yesterday, and I guess we can put it back down again. So right there at 67, 67.30, 67.20. Okay. All right. When I get back, we'll do the Aussie dollar index, peso, Canadian, or no, peso. Oh, crap. Look at the South African rand. Yeah, I got out of that too early. What a wuss. And we'll do the Nordic currency. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a few minutes. I got to go grab some more coffee. Thanks. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar, and man, the pound is still trading heavy, having a hard time bouncing off of any type of lows. It just continues to grind lower. Everything else is fairly quiet. Oh, matter of fact, let's speaking of the pound really quick, let's take a look at something. We were taking a look at that pound Canadian. We've got to be either breaking through support. Oh yeah. Okay, we were just talking about the pound Canadian earlier, and how there was a 40% chance that we'd break higher, 60% chance we'd break lower. I mean, look, we're breaking lower in the pound Canadian, right? So that's giving us that breakdown currently that we were talking about. So that's why you have to be careful about picking those up while you're in a bearish wedge. And hopefully whoever had asked earlier, took heed of that. Who was it that asked this morning? Matt. Hopefully, Matt, we're careful here. You might have got stopped out really quickly because that obviously happened so fast. I mean, that was like, within 15 minutes of us talking about it, because we were trading right here, and then, obviously it moved 150 pips or whatever. Or was it 120 pips. Yeah, the euro pound's cruising up towards 81 pence. I expect it to get to 81 pence. I might do a little bit of addition to my euro pound up there. I am still short, and I expect it to go up to 81 pence. I've given myself plenty of room to establish more of a position up there if I had to, and it looks like we're racing up there. So let's go. Let's finish up our analysis though. Let's go over to the Aussie. Okay, so here's the Aussie. Cable still going. New lows cable. Man. Okay, remember we're probably going to 139.80 in the pound. That's the next support. Oh, here, let's write it down. Oh no, it's already written down. 139.80. All right, so here's the Aussie. 618 holding. This horizontal support, I can get rid of that now. I can just move it over here. That's support for today. That comes in at 75 cents, basically. That's capping. So really, 75.80 is resistance. 75.10 is support. 75.10. 75.80, and we're in a range. All right, let's go into the dollar index. Let's see here. Here's the dollar index. So we're breaking higher out of the dollar index from where we were at, but I'm gonna do this. Okay, this is just a 4-hour. I'm gonna do something else really fast. Low, or high, excuse me, to low. Okay, so the 618 comes in at 95.60. The trend line's about the same spot. So that should be resistance today, 95.60, and then we have 94.30 as support. I know it's a fairly wide range, but we do have the FOMC meeting minutes today, so 95.60. So we could tag either one of those areas pretty easily. All right. And like I said, you know, the last few days, I think it's really dangerous to get too bearish the dollar while we're down here, you know, down towards the lower end of our longer term range in the dollar. So just got to be really, really careful being too bearish at this point. Okay. Let's go over to the peso. Wish I had a bigger position. I sold 2/3 of my position already, so I just have a third left. But the dips are minimal. Okay, and you know what the U.S. dollar, what does the U.S. dollar Mexican peso bullishness tell you about the market? I'm asking you guys this question. What does the U.S. dollar Mexican peso bullishness tell you about the market in general. Yeah, the market is the S&P risk appetite is probably peaked for now. So in other words, as long as this peso stays well bid, we're probably going to take out these lows. It's just a matter of time now. 2035 on the S&P futures, as long as the US dollar Mexican peso stays bid. And if we break that in the futures right there, the peso is going to scream higher. High, low. And just so you all know, I shorted the living crap out of the peso around here. Okay, I covered it around here. And I really, really want to short the US dollar Mexican peso again, but I want to short it up here, not here. That's why I'm long, okay? The 38% retracement comes in at 18. That looks like a very viable target. Maybe even today. Okay. Support. Finally, some downside pressure being taken off the cable a little bit. Support right now is at 1850. That's a pretty wide range, but here, let me remove this. Let me remove that. Let me remove that. Let's remove, not that. No. I want to remove the other thing, the blue line right there. There we go. Okay, so from here, dips are going to be very well supported at 1750, and you know, resistance is probably going to be pretty strong up here. Okay. Okay. We're in a range. Okay. Let's go into the Nordic currencies. Here's the US dollar Norwegian Krona. And just so you know, let me go back to the peso really quick. If the peso dips to 1750, I'm buying more, just so you guys know. All right. If we dip down here, I am buying more. All right. Okay. So, you know, one of the things that I think most of you will come to appreciate, if you don't already, well, those of you that have been listening here for a long time already know this. I tell you what I'm going to do before I do it. There's a big difference between people that, you know, a day later or afterwards goes, oh, what, you didn't buy the US dollar Mexican peso at 1750? Well, of course you should have bought it here at 1750 already after it went to 1750 and bounced. Now, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it. So sometimes things change, you know, it's like, you know, if I said I'm going to buy the peso at 1750, you know, if the S&P rallies 30 handles today and we rip up to 2080 today, I'll probably not buy the US dollar Mexican peso, more than likely. But under normal market conditions, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, you know, and I tell you ahead of time, right? Big difference. Okay. Norwegian Krona. So we're at a 786 retracement. This thing's kind of stuck in a couple of. I think there's a few things that are really moving this currency right now. First of all, we got this big head and shoulder pattern that we're trying to complete. The flip side is that when you got crude oil is weak. It's keeping the dollar, you know, Norwegian Krona from really falling. Okay. You know, I think there's a lot of crosswinds here. So I don't know. I look at the US dollar Norwegian Krona. I just don't even know what to do with it. You know, it's like, I'd like to short it up here, I'd like to be a buyer down here, but the only reason why I want to be a buyer is because I think crude oil is so weak. Even though we've bounced today, I think crude oil overall is weak. But the flip side is, you know, I don't know if I want to short it up here because crude oil is so weak. So I just don't know what to do with the U.S. dollar, Norwegian krona. And it's okay not to do anything too. That is an okay option. Just standing aside. And I think that this is one of those situations where I will. I was last night long the U.S. dollar Swedish krona. I did get out. I took some profits. I thought the euro dollar was going to weaken, so I figured I'd have some U.S. dollar Swedish krona longs when we busted the triangle through here yesterday. I sold it this morning, didn't make much. It was like just a couple hundred pips, which in the US dollar Swedish krona is nothing. It's like, it's like the equivalent of making 25 pips in the euro. So it was just a real small gain. It was nothing to write home about. But you look at the US dollar Swedish krona, and like I said, I have a hard time being really bearish down here at the bottom end of this big range. So I wasn't in a huge position when it bounced, but I don't know what to do with it here either. It's like, okay, I wouldn't mind shorting it up here, but I don't think I want to be on the long side just yet, ahead of the minutes right now. So I don't think there's much to do with it. So here's your bias chart. It's finished for now. Yeah, the pound is getting a little bit of a bounce. Good. I hope so. I own the cable at 140.45, the pound dollar. Okay. So hopefully we get a little bit of a bounce back. Like I said, the cable's notorious for false breaks, but the pound had a pretty big stop run. I mean, that was a pretty nasty, gnarly stop run here. I mean, the hourly, it's really early. We're showing a nice little hammer, but it's very early in the hour. Wouldn't get too overly excited about what you're seeing here just yet.